Welcome to Talking Technology with VI Labs. At VI Labs, we believe technology is the single greatest enabler for people with sight loss and all disabilities. If you're looking for the latest news and conversation on tech from a more accessible perspective, you've come to the right place.
Wow, that was so cool.
I know, Tim. I know. Hello and welcome in, everybody, to Talking Technology episode number 59, where Tim Cook there is getting very excited because, hey, it is our WWDC episode where we talk about all things Apple. Their Worldwide Developers Conference took place last night. It only happens once a year. And we've got an exciting show packed with all of the goings on in the Worldwide Developers Conference last night, which is really exciting. And I guess this is our second podcast in June, believe it or not. We've had the Electoral Commission on last week, and now all the voting is over. It's from the things that were exciting to the politicians. Now we're over to the stuff that's really exciting for the tech nerds. It's WWDC time, which is great. There was loads of really cool announcements last night across all of Apple's platforms. We'll be talking to Dave Nason about all of the exciting updates for the iPhone and the Mac and all of those various things later on in the show, as well as Apple Intelligence, ladies and gentlemen. Apple Intelligence. It's so intelligent, so smart. Apple Intelligence, they announced that as well. Their take on AI, their competitors with GPT, with Google Gemini, all of that sort of stuff. We'll be talking to David, who you'll know from AppleVis and all of these various things that Dave does. He'll be joining us in just a few minutes. But first, we've got to get some contact details out of the way. And there are, of course, as always, loads of ways that you can get in touch with us. And you know the drill at this point if you're a regular listener, I'm sure, but there are loads of ways to join the conversation. Join the group chat, send us in your voice messages, and we would absolutely love to hear from you. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note is probably the easiest way to get in touch with us, and you can send that to us by 086 199 0011. That's 086 199 0011. And hey, if you like doing things the old-fashioned way, maybe you're sending us an email using the new beta mail app on iOS or a Mac or something like that. Tell us how you're getting on. Tell us, share your experience. You can do it all the old-fashioned way to content@vi.ie. That is content@vi.ie. So as always, there are loads of ways to join the conversation. And hey, we'd love to hear from you about whether it's Apple's WWDC or anything else. We've got loads of random stuff coming up later on in the show as well. Everything from screen reader issues in Mortal Kombat to dating apps from the Japanese government. We've got all of that still to come on Talking Technology episode 59. So do please stick around. We'd love for you to join us. So, hey, he is becoming a regular guest on Talking Technology at this point. In fact, I think he had earned that title long ago. But we are delighted to have him back to talk about all things from Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference. And that is, of course, the one, the only, the legend, Mr. David Nason. Dave, how are you?
I'm good, David. Great to be here.
Brilliant. Dave, you watched it live last night?
I did, yeah. Watched it live with the audio description, like I say. So big show. It was one of the more anticipated ones we've had for years, I think it's fair to say.
It sure was, and the audio description was on point. I have a few clips of the audio description here, but some of the I think everyone should just watch the Worldwide Developers Conference with audio description at this point, because you get all of the information and stuff like that, but there's just some of the one-liners that out of context they sound really interesting. I've got this beauty.
A user examines a 3D bone.
I mean, a user examines a 3D bone. It sums it up pretty okay, doesn't it? And there was also this gem.
A message reads, "Hopefully no one will notice my leg bouncing."
Yeah, there's some brilliant ones, but I do think everyone should watch it with audio description, Dave, I must say.
Yeah, no, they do. they clearly put work into the audio description. I think that's been one of the big advantages, actually, since they've moved away from the live stage events to these kind of pre-recorded ones, that they've been able to give us this really good audio description. So we're not missing too much. Occasionally, now, he said something like, I can't remember which feature it was or which product, but he said it will be available in these 8 countries. And then the audio describer didn't have time to tell us what the 8 countries were. But, there's times they miss it. But for the most part, I think they do really good AD.
And I think it's one of these things, I think you've hit the nail on the head, because it's, I think with, like, you can do live audio description, but I don't think it would ever be that good. You know, that the polish that they have with it is really something else. And it really was good. But hey, we can't just gush over the audio description all day, Dave. We have to talk about the actual the content, some would say. There was a lot of announcements yesterday, and we basically, the running order, it seemed, was we went through each of Apple's platforms. So they were broken down into different categories. We had Vision OS, iOS, Mac OS, audio and home, which was an interesting one. They've split that into a category there as well. There was Mac OS, and then we after all that, Watch OS. Yes, I forgot the watch. And then after all that, we moved on to the what turned out to be Apple Intelligence, and we'll talk all about that in just a bit. But let's start with Vision OS, Dave. I guess the main thing for people who are visually impaired or have low vision, I guess in particular from this, is you can now make the screen for Mac Virtual Display bigger. It can go about twice the size. 2 4K monitors next to each other, they say. Do you think like this is going to be of benefit to many people? I think Vision Pro, it hasn't... I haven't heard a whole lot of it on the accessibility scene over the last little while. It kind of died off a little bit. The hype died down a bit, but they are still improving it.
Yeah, or any scene, any tech scene, really. It's like you see YouTube, some of the big tech reviewers and stuff saying, they put it on, they say, this is so cool, everything it can do. And then they put it in a drawer because they can't actually think of anything really to do with it. You know what I mean? The apps maybe aren't quite there yet, or the purpose hasn't been quite figured out yet, I don't think, for what to actually do with it. As cool as the technology is, but you're going to spend $3,500-4 grand on a device that can only do the same things your other machines can already do. I don't know, but I think it's definitely got potential, but I still don't think it's really a consumer product,
Yeah, it's in those early phases, I think. It hasn't, I think, found its purpose yet. I think that took the Apple Watch a while, but
it did. Yeah. And even like they have voiceover on it, and you kind of swipe. You can kind of swipe your finger from side to side, or you do certain gestures to move from, equivalent to swiping on an iPhone.
Yeah.
But if you're not getting the visual benefits of it, I don't yet know why it would be better than just using an iPhone. But then for low vision, you definitely are hearing things that, can be really cool. Like you say, you can have those immersive experiences. You can have a giant monitor essentially in front of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
60-inch screen if you want to or whatever. You know what I mean? So for low vision, definitely I could see there being benefit.
Yeah. Have you got to try it yet yourself?
Oh, no. I don't think it's even in...
No,
well, maybe you could do it in Belfast. I don't know. They said it's coming to some more countries in the next couple of months, didn't they? And UK was one of them. So maybe we could all head up to Belfast and try it out in the Apple Store.
I support this message. I think this is a great idea. Yeah. And who knows? Like usually, like the HomePod took forever to come to Ireland. So maybe if Vision Pro can come slightly faster, that would be great. But there you go. I guess we'll move on because there's not a massive amount to discuss on a product that isn't available in Ireland yet. But we moved on swiftly then, pardon the pun, to iOS. And there is a bit more to talk about here. And we'll talk about Apple Intelligence separately. But a big one here is there's a lot more customization coming to the home screen. And also that can be done a lot in with colors and things like that. They're kind of becoming Android here, Dave, aren't they?
Some of this is about time too, though. So the likes of the fact that we've been, what is this, 18, so 17 versions of iOS where you have been able to move your icons around, but they've been forced into this grid starting in the top left. And if you only have 10 icons on your screen, they have to be just the first 10 items at the top of the grid. Now you'll be able to, like you've always been able to do on Android, you'll be able to place them anywhere on the screen. So like I have a work apps screen that only has, I think, 8 or 9 or 10 icons on it. No longer will I have to have them up the top. I can have them at the bottom of the screen now where they're more reachable. There's so
That's
little
fair,
kind of
yeah.
tweaks like that are very nice. And yeah, more color schemes as well, and dark themes, and icons different if for people who have some vision. Yeah, more color schemes and more kind of skins, color kind of skins and things like that I think will appeal to some people for sure.
It
yeah,
was
I think the home
mentioned
screen
as almost as an aside, but I noticed it at the end there. They were talking about, and they described it as simply larger app icons. And I don't think they demoed this, but what I'm wondering is, can you now have app icons take up 4x4 on the grid? And I don't know yet. I haven't got to try the beta software yet. But if so, that could be really, really cool.
Yeah, that'd be very good. I actually have the beta here, but I haven't got to that yet. So
oh, you're ahead of me. You've got the beta. I like it. Yeah, we'll chat about the beta.
That would be great because again, on cool. Android, you can most launchers on Android, you can choose what size grid you want. So that would be
that would be cool. In terms of then on the there was also loads of things with messages. Messages is getting some upgrades. That was from where we got that clip from the audio description earlier. You can now react with any emoji. Much like I think you can do that already with a lot of the apps, certainly with Teams, and I think most of the other ones already. Yeah. And then they're also adding some kind of text styling features into messages as well.
You can use rich font, rich format, so your bold and italics and things like that. But you can also, I think, use different styles and that kind of stuff. Messaging is interesting because I know in America it plays bigger probably because they all use messages, where I think on this side of the world most of us are probably using WhatsApp or
I think so, yeah,
other apps. So maybe it doesn't have quite the same impact for me because I mean I don't even have messages on my home screen. You know what I mean? So
really, yeah, no, I think that's a fair point, and I think I'm similar in that I will use, certainly in terms of like friend groups, I will definitely use WhatsApp and stuff. And I think it is just a bit of it's not even that it's a smoother experience. It's just a cultural difference, I think, really, isn't it? But it is good to see.
They have like one big improvement to messages, though. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But is they're introducing support for something called RCS.
Yes, the Android folks will be delighted.
Yeah, it means so at the moment, while you'll still see the difference, and if you have sight, you'll know that iMessages currently are blue and SMS messages with Android people are green. That will remain the case, but those messages now will be they'll behave much more like iMessages. So you'll see things like the delivery receipts and read receipts. You'll see see or hear the typing. Person is typing notification. If you send photos, they will be in full definition now. They won't, apparently at the moment, if you send out photos by SMS, they're kind of blurry, and you know what I mean. So you're kind of getting a lot of that functionality, of the iMessage type functionality with Android people as well, which will mean that actually messages maybe does become a bit more viable for us as an actual.
I think so, and that was always something you'd notice, is that like the message experience with something like in those kind of green bubble chats, with someone who isn't on the iPhone side, they were lacking, unfortunately, and that did just, I think, encourage a lot of people. Just use WhatsApp.
And for groups especially,
That's very true. I didn't even think of it from that point of view, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, like it is going to be, that RCS messaging is going to hopefully make some big difference. And also there is messaging now by satellite too, which I don't know is that available in Ireland, but it is pretty cool tech that certainly on the newer phones, if you're out of like signal and stuff like that, if you're out of a certain area, you can still send a message now using a satellite, which is pretty cool stuff.
I don't know, is this the same as the emergency satellite thing that they announced a year or two ago?
It is. It's just expanded to messages now. Yeah. But there you go. Yeah, it's a small one, and I don't know if it's available to us in Ireland, but there you go. Little improvements, I guess. Then I guess, was there any other major bits on the iOS side before we talk about like Apple Intelligence? I'm trying to think.
For me, I think there's a couple of cool things. One is around Control Center. It's going to have more, pages and a bit more customization. And third-party apps. Developers now will be able to create actions for the Control Center, so you won't be just limited to the ones that Apple give us, which I think is potentially really useful. It could be smart home stuff from other manufacturers, or it could be even that you want to, certain media things you might want to put in there or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, the fact that third parties can create those kind of actions, and even the torch and the camera little icon on your lock screen. They can be
changed.
You'll be able to change those as well, thank God, because I'm sick and tired of turning my torch on by mistake.
I think everyone is, yeah. So. I'd hope to see, something like, I hope we can trigger shortcuts with those. That maybe you can launch something like Seeing AI or Be My AI or something like that. That could be really beneficial.
I believe Open App is one of the actions you can do. So I think it probably works very similar. I don't know, David, do you have one of the
ones with the action button? I do.
The action button?
Yeah.
One of the new ones. So I think it'll probably be very similar to that. Hopefully.
You
can kind of set whatever you want to them.
Absolutely. Mail is getting some upgrades as well. They're allowing you to... it's much like, I think, isn't there that email app? Is it called Spark or something like that, I think it's called?
Even Outlook has it. You know the way how Outlook will have a kind of focused at the top, and then it's kind of the Outlook app, will split out your emails into focused and other. I don't know. I think it's a bit like that. And Gmail, I think, has that kind of stuff if you use the Gmail app itself, or the Gmail website, where it has priority messages and social and blah. So I think it's that kind of thing where it's going to break down your emails by, what it believes are priority messages and which ones are, marketing messages and which ones are social media and that kind of thing.
I mean, I think that can only be a good thing, because I'm getting so much nonsense of late. I think everyone does. You sign up to all of these things. You've all these accounts for various bits and pieces that you've had to sign up for a million different reasons, and they all just stack up. And I think it's going to be beneficial, hopefully, to just receive emails, for whatever the case may be. I think that could be really beneficial. Was there other bits?
Another thing is, I was going to say passwords is another interesting area where they're, even though we already had Keychain, they're now bringing in a distinct app, it looks like, for password management. So a little bit like for people who use LastPass or 1Password or one of those apps, it may be, well, you may decide to use Apple's one instead, I guess.
I saw a meme on X last night of like 1Password's executive boardroom, and they're all just crying, It's like, they have the term for that, isn't it? Sherlocking?
Sherlocked.
Sherlocking, yeah. So that's, they have been Sherlocked, unfortunately, by Apple. I'm sure they'll adapt, but like it is kind of
they're still cross-platform, I suppose, is key as well.
Well, that's also true. Although the Password app is also available for Windows, which is interesting.
Yeah, through the iCloud app, is that what they said?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So who knows? And then the Photos app is getting some upgrades too. Is this of interest to you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I would use photos. I get a lot of photos from my family and things like that, and. I had a look at it now because I've got the beta on my phone, as I say, and I was struggling a little bit with the interface. Maybe it probably still needs a bit of polish. You know what I mean? The one today is probably not the finished article, and with voiceover, I was getting a bit lost in like, how do I just get to my recent photos?
Yeah.
But hopefully, we'll like the new interface. But the tabs at the bottom are gone now. It's all kind of all on one screen, kind of.
Oh, really? So. Oh, wow. I don't know if I like that. But there you go.
I'm not sure either, but we'll see.
Yeah, time will tell. This could be like that Safari thing where they, enough people complained and then they changed it back, or gave people the option to change it back.
Funnily enough, I did change it back to the old way.
So did I.
A month or two ago, I switched back. I went to the default to the bottom toolbar, and I actually liked the bottom toolbar now. So
Oh, I'm still up top. I much prefer it up top personally. I see benefits both ways, but for me, I'm still up top. I'm trying to think. Is there other bits that we're missing? Did they mention? And I can't tell. There's not enough detail on this. Are they introducing native call recording?
yeah, it sounded like it, and recording and transcription. Live kind of fell under the AI area, but I'm not exactly sure how that will work, or if it'll be available in Ireland. For example, they already have in other countries, in the US, they have, where you can get live transcripts of your voicemails, which we've never gotten over here. Do you know what I mean? So whether that will ever reach us is another question.
Time shall tell. Time shall tell. We'll jump over, I guess, then to Mac. iPhone is your Mac now, which that's
probably the most interesting thing.
It's actually like, I really think this is kind of cool. Will I use it? I don't know. I saw a lot of questions online about how VoiceOver will work in this regard.
Time will tell on that.
It's controlling.
Is it using? As somebody said, is it going to be kind of mirroring VoiceOver from your phone, or is the Mac's VoiceOver?
Or is it?
Be...
That could be really interesting. I think I think for a lot of people, there's going to be benefits to this. I think it's one of these things, it's flashy, but I don't know how much it's going to be used, because I think everyone now has 15 years of muscle memory of picking up their phone, but it's hard to say. There is things like iPhone notifications are coming to the Mac now. So, if you get just a random notification or whatever, you can just pull that up. And I guess this does mean, in some regards, that every single iPhone app now works on Mac. So, Yeah,
they didn't say no compatibility. I'm guessing it probably needs the newer Macs, with the M1 or M2 or M3, whatever chips. I'm guessing it won't work on the Intel Macs, but I could be wrong about that. But I don't expect it to.
I think it's a fair bet, because they love the kind of, they'll want it to be Apple Silicon across the board. So I would guess that you're right in that, but that is speculation on my part, to be fair.
I'm not going to upgrade my Mac for this feature, but it is definitely an interesting feature. And maybe, I suppose, you're working away and it's just maybe easier just to, you've got your keyboard there and just keep working, and just use your keyboard. You know what I mean? Rather than picking up your phone. Or even just
typing stuff, just like you're typing, like for whatever reason, maybe you just prefer typing something in a certain interface, or you're used to an iPhone interface for something. Just doing something quickly and just being able to type it has benefits too, Like I could see people, for example, using the WordPress iOS app than fighting with the WordPress website, for example. So I can see benefits in that regard. It could be a really interesting one.
True of things like Amazon, or some certainly some shopping. I don't know what name Amazon,
that's fair.
Like shopping apps and stuff as well.
That's fair.
Airlines and things.
There are other stuff in on the Mac side as well. There are upgrades to maps, things like that. Was there other stuff that stood out to you outside of the AI bits?
On the Mac, a lot of the Mac was everything we were talking about for iOS is also happening on the Mac kind of thing, wasn't it?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. It's kind of, it's like, I think with most of these features, it's kind of like they announce it for one, but it tends to be like that was always the case with like iOS and iPadOS. But I think increasingly now it's just like, it's almost one unified thing in a sense. They just break it down to make it more interesting, I guess. But yes, you are right in that a lot of these different things are all coming to Mac as well. I'm trying to think. There's some upgrades, I think, specifically around like, mail and maps and stuff like that, getting some extra features on the Mac, but nothing too exciting. I think the big one is definitely using the iPhone on your Mac. I do wonder, right, that where my brain went with this last night was, could you access your Mac via a Vision Pro and then access your iPhone through the Mac on the Vision Pro?
How many levels deep can you go?
Yeah. And then I was trying to think, like, is there a way? I wonder, could you like do something on the Apple Watch with the iPhone that you're running on your Mac on your Vision Pro? And I was wondering how deep could it go? But there you go.
There is a feature, isn't there, where you can use your watch on your phone, isn't there? You can mirror your watch to your phone. So maybe you could wear your watch to your phone to your Mac to your Vision Pro.
I like it. There's a great YouTube video on that. We'll probably leave it to like Marquez Brownlee or something, but hey, I like it. Awesome. Yeah. And then I guess we were on to the watch. Watch, I think, some small enough updates, but we're getting a new Vitals app, which I think is really important. It's a really cool one. And there's also some stuff here around information around pregnancy and helping with pregnancy, which is some really cool stuff here.
Yeah, typically like the watch has really more and more become a health and fitness device more than anything, hasn't it? It's useful for like your notifications and stuff like that, but mainly it seems to be more and more a health and fitness device.
It seems that, yeah.
It's good to see them.
Do you use it much, the Apple Watch yourself?
I do. I've always said I like my Apple Watch, but I don't love it. It wouldn't be my most important device by any stretch. You know, I mean, I'm still rocking a Series 4, so I'm not even going to get WatchOS 11. I'm going to have to, but I was planning to. I think it's about time. This is getting a bit long in the tooth now, so it's about time I upgrade. So I will get a new one this year. But yeah, I use it. I kind of like getting notifications with a gentle buzz on my wrist, or even my alarm in the morning is a buzz on my wrist rather than a loud, noisy thing in the corner of the room, you know, or what have you. I like it for that kind of stuff. And I do I track runs, you know, in the workout app, you know, stuff like that. And it's good to know that if there is something, you know, with my vitals, be it my heart, my heart rate goes unusual in some way or something, that the Apple Watch might detect that. So I think it's good for that kind of stuff. So if I'm going to have it, I like wearing a watch, and if I'm going to wear a watch, it makes sense for it
to be an Apple Watch. Yeah, I get that. And I think, like, for me, one of my favorite things with the Apple Watch is just Apple Pay. I use Apple Watch, Apple Pay for like everything now. And that really works for me. I use it a little bit for like tracking runs, a little bit of just, you know, like the notifications, as you said, is great. The alarms is great. Just like casual use. And I think they're at a point now where maybe they're starting, especially since the Apple Watch Ultra came along, they're starting to focus a little bit more on I guess, professional athletes and stuff like that. But it's a really well built product, and I think they're at a point now where WatchOS is actually quite mature.
It is,
which is interesting. You know,
it's mad to think it's, you know, nearly a decade old now. I think it was 2015 the first one came out. Which is, it's crazy how long it's been around. But I mean, there's things that they talk about, like using messaging and stuff like that I don't get. I've never understood why
anyone would
replying to a message is easier on my watch than on my phone. I would always just, even if it's the notification said that you've had a message and I might read it on the watch, but if it's something I want to reply to, I'm going to pick.
You're going to do it on the phone. I'm the same in that. Now, like, I do think some people, what I found is, like, some people, like my mom, for example, finds voiceover just much easier to manage on the watch. So she will do some things like on the watch, like, you know, fitness app, even messages, things like that. But I think that's a very niche use case, relatively speaking. But hey, like, I think it is still cool that that's an option, you know, that people do have to do that with the watch if they so wish.
Something I say every single year, and they never listen to me, is give me a round watch, please. But anyway, that's not a software thing, obviously.
Do you know what, though? I don't know if I'm that keen for a round one. I like the current design, but you'd want a round one, you think?
I think I prefer a round watch. I think they look nicer, but that's just personal taste, obviously. So it'd be nice if we had both options. It's funny because pretty much all of the Android ones are round.
Yeah.
The Pixel, the Samsung, or even the Garmin's as well, you know. But accessibility wise and the fact that we're on iPhones means we don't really have the option to use anything else other than an Apple one.
This is fair. Rings can now be adjusted per day, which I guess it is good. I think that's I think
especially if you're sick or something, that you're not losing your streak. You can just pause them and things like that.
That is great. And also live actions are coming to the Smart Stack. So now if you have you'd often see these with mainly with things like Deliveroo. If you order something or you order a taxi or something like that, you get live actions to tell you that when things are going to arrive or whatever. Or one of the ones I have that pops up regular enough is when I'm uploading stuff on WeTransfer. It has a little live action there, and those are now going to be supported on Apple Watch, which is also great. I think those are the main bits from the watch side. And I think, have we covered all platforms? Are we ready to talk about AI?
I think so, yeah. It's funny that AI apparently doesn't stand for artificial intelligence anymore.
No, not in Apple's
AI
world.
stands for Apple Intelligence.
Yeah, it was kind of it was funny. It was also kind of cringy as well a little bit. But hey, look, it's a good brand, I think. But this is their answer to, I guess, GPT, to Google Gemini, all of these things. Apple have Apple Intelligence, which seems to run mostly on device, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. But it also has the option to do some stuff in what they're calling private cloud compute, and for some other stuff, then again, it just reaches out to things like GPT and GPT-4o, which has proven very controversial, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. But loads of features here, Dave. So what stood out to you?
Will Siri be good now?
Yeah, it's anyone's guess, isn't it?
That's the question.
Have you? So in the beta, you can't try this yet, I don't think, can you? You can try some bits of new Siri, but you can't try Apple Intelligence.
No. I think they said something on stage, and I'm trying to get clarification on it, but I think they said something on stage that at the moment it'll only work in US English. So I don't know if that means you have to change your device region settings or something if you want to use this even when it does come along. So I'll be keeping an eye on that as well.
That is one to note. I think, but in time, we will hopefully get all this. And there are some interesting bits here. So Siri, first of all, is able to it knows your personal context, they call this. So it's everything around it's basically your personal information. It knows who you are, who your family members are, all of these different bits and pieces about you. It can pick up on that, and it can use that to, reference a lot more. Yeah.
And I could say, show me the photos David sent me last week, or where's that email about my, holiday, I don't know, flight confirmation or something. And Siri should be able to just dig in and find it, because it knows what I'm talking about, and it knows what it's basically got an index of everything that's been going on the phone, really, it seems. But like you say, on device.
If this works, it could be really cool. I can imagine this being used a lot for those simple examples, just trying to find, you're in a, even I wonder whether it be able to used for passwords and stuff like that. And I thought about this, you're on a website and you can be like, Siri, what's the password for this again? I don't know whether that will work, but
potentially, because
it's hard to say.
Theoretically, because it's on device, then maybe.
If I have it in the Notes app, does it work? Maybe does it work differently if it's in Notes or if it's in the Passwords app?
Yeah, that's the question. I think they did talk a lot about third-party kind of APIs and stuff, and you know what I mean. That things, there was stuff around text as well, which obviously we've all become familiar with ChatGPT and so on over the last year or two of write me an email saying this, or I'm wanting a blog post, help me. And so they had different modes. There's ones that was just tidy this up and make it a bit more professional, or there's ones where you wanted to completely create something, that you have the different options there. And they said that kind of stuff will be available to any third-party apps who use Apple's standard text editing,
Yeah, I think this makes
implementation, I
sense.
guess.
Yeah. And I think it's, I'm really excited about this just for the proof reading and features and stuff. I think that will be great. I just hope, my one thing that makes me a little bit nervous about this is that, is it going to start being nitpicky and changing little bits? Because like, I think everyone has a little bit of a unique writing style, and I think that's great. But I think you can very easily identify at this point, if you've come across it a lot, you can identify AI written stuff. So I hope everything doesn't just get passed through this filter that kind of makes everyone just sound like an AI a little bit. Do you know, that kind of way?
I've had the same fear for the last year or whatever this is all going on for. Yeah, that like you don't want us to lose individual writing styles and ways of expressing ourselves. So hopefully, like you say, it'll be used more as a proofreading and fixing mistakes. Or I don't mind it telling me your grammar. Like, I mean, Microsoft Word and stuff will already tell you like spell check and grammar, it'll tell you, if the grammar's not right here. So you kind of want that, but you just want it to be made easier. And maybe they did talk about giving you suggestions as well in line and stuff. So I'd be interested to see how that will work with voiceover, because some of the inline, I turned off a lot of the inline predictive stuff that they brought in last year because it just got very annoying when it's trying to speak while I'm typing. You know what I mean? So I'll be interested to see how that works. But theoretically, having kind of inline suggestions that you can accept or deny or decline would potentially be, could be useful.
It could well be. Those text features are a lot. And then there was a lot of photo stuff as well. You can make Genmoji. This now I thought was like, right, we've reached a new level. But at the same time, I get it, because I can't remember what it was, but I was trying to find an emoji for a LinkedIn post not that long ago, and it just didn't exist. And
similar,
but the problem I think we have with this is, where will these Genmojis work? And will they only be available to iPhone users? How's that all going to work,
That's a big. There's a couple of questions on it, because I had something similar. I wanted to send like a evil laughing kind of emoji, and I couldn't find one that kind of fit what I wanted to do. I was like, it'd be great if you could just make one. Yeah. But like I say, if you're sending it, can you use it in WhatsApp, sending it to an Android person, or will they just see, I don't know, nothing? And also voiceover again, because all of these emojis that we have, the official ones, they all have labels attached to them, you know what I mean? So that we voiceover users know what they are.
Yeah, man in business
they've really good descriptions. Is it going to be up to the user to create like alt text? In which case, I dread to think what social media is going to be like, suddenly full of all these emojis that people haven't put labels on. And I don't want to be like negative or about it. I'm hoping that that's not a problem we're going to have.
Is the need to, could the technology, if it's built well and well integrated, could the technology not just generate the alt text for its own emoji?
Especially considering it's supposed to be created based on what somebody asked it
someone
to be.
said,
so hopefully we get that description or something like that. Like this is what
who knows?
It's supposed to be.
It could be cool. I do think there's definitely benefits for it. There's going to be questions around its accessibility. I do think how it works in different kind of environments is going to be interesting, especially for someone who, might be an Android user. If I include, something in an X post or a LinkedIn post, what's going to happen, when someone who's not on iPhone sees that, because it's not part of the Unicode standard and stuff. So that's going to be interesting in time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the photo stuff could be interesting for us. And, there are blind and visually impaired people who want to take photos, and I think AI could really help us with that, with whether it's framing photos correctly, getting a quick description of whether we've captured what we wanted right, and also with editing, where you'll be able to say, hey Siri, make this brighter, or remove this object, and it'll like intelligently do those things for you, and you don't have to worry about being able to use the actual tools.
Yes.
So
that could be huge.
Could be good.
It absolutely, and I think even, you know, just little things like, you know, they showed the feature where, and I couldn't tell, the audio description was a bit ropey in this part, but they were removing objects from photos, and I think, or like something in the background of a photo, and it seemed to work seamlessly enough that you could just tell Siri to do it, which is going to be, if as demonstrated, could be really, really cool.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that Siri stuff. I think they said it's probably not coming till later in the year, or maybe even into next year, but Siri being able to kind of do strings of actions, so, you know, within an app. So rather than you just say, I don't know, you open Deliveroo or Just Eat, and you might be able to just go open, you know,
get the usual,
go to McDonald's and order me a Big Mac meal with this, and this, and pay with Apple Pay, and, you know, and they'll just do it for you. You don't have to go through all those steps yourself. Those kind of things, I think, could be coming down the line, but it'll be interesting to see again how well they work, because a bit like Shortcuts, but Shortcuts is a very clunky, difficult to use app to create shortcuts in, and if you can just have Siri just intelligently do that stuff for you,
it will be really
powerful.
Impressive if possible. Yeah, well, time will tell. But who knows? I'm definitely, like, I'm excited about all of these AI features. I do hope there's more. I hope that they've got, like, you know, image analysis tools and stuff like that can just integrate into, you know, voiceover and stuff. Who knows? Yeah,
I wonder that, because obviously we have image descriptions. We have very basic image descriptions now with voiceover. So if you get a photo, you just put voiceover, focus on it, and it gives you a kind of a quick description. But obviously, if you want to get the really good detailed description, you have to kind of go share. In WhatsApp, you have to go share and then share again, and then go down to the bottom and find swipe until you get to describe it, be my AI, you know?
Yeah.
I'd love to be just able to very quickly, whether it's, again, using some sort of Siri actions or shortcut or something, or whether it's Apple's own intelligence, I don't care, but I want to be very quickly able to get a good image description and not have to go through that rigmarole. So crossing my fingers for that one.
And Apple are kind of on the back foot a little bit here, because Google at I.O. recently announced that TalkBack was getting descriptions powered by Gemini Nano. So they are on the back foot a little here, but it definitely could be an interesting one if they provide, like, just image descriptions, or even something cool, like maybe there's some implementation into the magnifier app, which has actually almost become Apple's equivalent to, like, Seeing AI at this point. It's just
they are making more improvements to it. So, you know, like with the live recognition, they've made improvements this year. So now you can have them in your router now, so you don't have to open the magnifier app. You can just have in your router door detection or people detection and very quickly get to it and stuff. So again, I'm hoping that that's a sign that they're still improving that app and still
a point of focus. Absolutely. So yeah, overall, Dave, what did you think? Were you impressed, somewhat impressed, slightly underwhelmed? What were you thinking?
I'd say somewhat impressed, you know, underwhelmed in some ways, but, you know, like, some of it's very good, and I think some of the basics improvements to iOS will be very good. And then, yeah, some of the Mac stuff, you know, is interesting, but we'll see. And then on the AI side of it, maybe it's hard to know. Maybe our expectations were too high or something.
Maybe.
But, so yeah, and I think it's a real time will tell on the AI. I think there was a lot of talk about stuff, but we haven't really got to see, you know, what's it really going to be like. So I think it's a really wait and see on the AI, Apple intelligence stuff.
It's still AI, to be fair.
Still AI, yeah.
It is still AI.
I think it's a bit of a wait and see for me, and a bit of a, you know, still hoping that they'll get it right, you know what I mean, and that there'll be, you know, good accessibility aspects to it. And I can talk to you a bit about some of the accessibility improvements if you like as well.
Yeah, go for it. I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts were so far.
But one interesting thing, and I think this is so overdue, it's not even funny, but I'm delighted they've done it, and that is now when you go into settings and go to VoiceOver, you will see a section called What's New in VoiceOver.
Oh,
and it
wow.
lists
Awesome.
everything that's new. So you're not having to just dig around and hope you find things. It's actually telling you all the new stuff.
So
So that's
what
great.
is new?
And
Tell me.
so go ahead. Yeah, and one of them as well is there's going to be a new voiceover tutorial as well, which is going to be great for
Oh,
people
just
who are
like
new
on
to.
Mac. Oh, that's brilliant. That's long overdue too.
Yeah,
That's existed on Mac for years. So
yeah,
that's interesting to
absolutely.
see it come to
Um,
iPhone. Interesting.
Yeah, some of the new things I've listed here. So the live recognition thing I mentioned. So it's easier. You can have that in the rotor, so it's easier to get to, which is good.
Yeah.
The voiceover language router is now called voiceover voice, and the purpose of that is that it's easier to have multiple voices from one language. So before you went in and selected English Ireland, and then it was kind of difficult if you wanted to have another Irish voice and switch between them or whatever. So now you could just have 3 or 4 voices from Ireland and 3 or 4 from the US, whatever,
That does
in your
make
rotor
sense,
if
I
you want
think.
to.
Yeah, that is a good improvement, I think.
Yeah, I think that's good. And as a result, I have learned that Irish Siri male, his name is Aidan. I never knew his name before. There you go.
He was just Siri Male 2
Yeah.
or something for a long time.
Yeah.
I wonder what the female
And he still
one
is in settings, actually. But if you use the rotor and you change it with the rotor, it says Aidan.
Aiden.
So,
Wow. That's
so that'll
that's
be
a
helped.
revelation.
Yeah, it's really good. Audio ducking has improved. So now you can have more different, it's not just audio ducking is on or off. You can have more different control over that and what levels you want in different situations and stuff. So I haven't got to play with that fully yet, but it's definitely good that it's improved.
Fair enough.
There's a startup haptic when you start voiceover, so that's no big deal. It just kind of vibrates. You can, for people who struggle maybe with gestures, you can have a bit of a delay when you first touch the screen so that you don't accidentally tap things. So that could be useful.
For sure.
And there's a lot of improvements around Braille as well. So for the Braille users, if you're a Braille, what's it called, BSI, the Braille screen input, it made huge. People seem to be very. I'm not a user, but people seem to be very excited about the improvements they made on that. It's much easier now to activate and deactivate it with a gesture whenever you want, and you can even control the iPhone. So like you would with a Braille display, where you have Braille cords that will carry out actions, you can actually do Braille screen input now for controlling your device with basically Braille gestures, which is kind of cool.
And there goes the Hable. Yeah.
Sorry?
And there goes the Hable. I'm sure.
I suppose.
I'm sure plenty of people will still use the hardware devices, but that is cool that Braille screen input is continuing to see regular development, because there are people who love that feature.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of different Braille ones here that I don't entirely understand, but it looks like they put a lot of work. Hopefully they can ensure that it's, I think some of the feedback will be how buggy is it going to be, because we already had it was already a bit buggy, voiceover and Braille. So hopefully by introducing all this new stuff, they won't make that worse. But it seems like there's quite a few kind of improvements there for voiceover, which is great.
Have you had any issues with bugs so far?
Oh God, yeah, but I mean it's developer beta 1, so
yeah.
I'd be worried if there weren't bugs almost. You know what I mean? It's part of the territory.
That's fair.
VoiceOver keeps cutting things out, or I've had to restart VoiceOver a few times. It's not, as I've seen, far worse now in a first beta, but it's definitely not stable yet. And there's still, like we say, a lot of the features I haven't got to play with some of them yet, and some of them just aren't there yet. You know what I mean? So,
interesting.
We'll see. It's good though. My battery is horrendous. So under this beta, that often happens with betas as well.
That's a regular occurrence. Yeah, I remember I was on the beta, I don't know whether it was last year and the year before, but oh my goodness, if I got an hour, I was doing lucky. It was
I normally get the whole day out of this thing, and before we started recording, I was already down to 40%. So
yeah. It does go without saying, definitely don't, it's the regular warnings with this, don't put it on any device that you absolutely need. Very bad idea. I have to kill my brothers this time of year because they see stuff on TikTok and they'll be like, oh, that sounds so cool, and they'll go in and put on a beta or something, but they don't know what they're doing. So I have to do the annual warning soon before TikTok has all the new features.
At least though it's the public beta, it won't be out for probably another month or so.
That's true. Yeah.
By that point, it's usually a bit safer. But even then, still, like, don't do it.
Give it to beta 2 or 3.
Yeah, unless you're willing to accept that your phone might break. You know what I mean? Because I keep an older phone around. I have an iPhone 12 mini around that's on iOS 17.
Yeah.
So if everything went to absolute hell, then I could always pop my SIM into that phone. Do you know what I mean? And
or do
otherwise,
what
I probably wouldn't risk the beta at this stage.
Do what I do. I asked if I can install it on my work device.
Research, David.
Yeah, exactly. This is part of my job, guys. It's part of my job. Yeah, there you go. And it's separate to AI and all of these things. But there is one feature, Dave, that we did not discuss. But I think it was probably the biggest announcement of the event, really. The calculator app is coming to the iPad, Dave.
Absolutely huge, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, like I was kind of thinking, Apple might be, slightly, they understated it a little bit. I do have just one clip here of this.
It's changing the way you do math.
It's changing the way you do math, Dave. I think, look, it's really cool. It's long overdue, though. It's just
I think there's a bit of tongue in cheek and all of that because they've been asked for years and years.
Yeah.
When is calculator coming to the iPad? And that your man there, Craig Federighi, I think his name is. He thinks himself a bit of a joker. So he.
Do you know what? He's a great presenter. You got to give him his credit. He apparently is like actually legitimately unreal at electric guitar. Yeah, that's actually a thing apparently.
He wouldn't make a bad stand-up either, I'd say.
I'd say he'd be pretty good. Yeah. I
certainly very natural presenter. Yeah.
He really is. You gotta give himself credit. Definitely, really like some brilliant presenters. Even just last night in general, from all of them. It's a big job, I guess, presenting something like that and doing it in the way that they do. But it came across as a really polished event.
Sorry, yeah. Production values on Apple's events, even listen to, again, your Marcus Brownlees and these kind of characters, they would say, like, Apple are still miles ahead of everybody else in terms of the production values for these kind of events. So.
Yeah. And it's incredible. Like they say at the end, even with the audio description, that it is shot on iPhone and stuff like that, which is incredible to achieve for such a high-end production. So they deserve some serious street cred for that. They're walking the walk as well as talking the talk, which I guess has to be acknowledged as well. That is fairly impressive. But yeah.
One thing that occurred to me that we probably should say actually around the AI stuff is it looks, again, we haven't got a clear picture fully of it yet, but it looks like some of it will probably require the newest iPhones, like the iPhone 15 and 15 Pro, and obviously the new ones that will come out in September. But if you've got you can't call an iPhone 13 or 14 or 12 even old, but it's very possible that they might not be new enough to actually get some of this stuff because of because it's so much of it is done on device.
Yeah, it is definitely one to consider. Hard to say at this point as to what devices it will support. But it's a fair point. I hope that, like at least my 15 Pro should be good enough.
Oh, it will, 100%. Yeah.
But
there's no doubt that the 15 Pro will, but it's whether everything on the 15
I think the 14 ones is in question. Like, I think,
exactly. Now, they'll get iOS 18. It's just the AI side of it might be lacking. But we'll see. We'll see again. See. There's a few we'll sees in this one, isn't there?
There really is, and I think definitely, I wouldn't be expecting many of the AI features to make their way to anything that isn't like an M series chip on the iPad or anything like that. I think there will be quite high requirements in terms of running this stuff, but it's going to be interesting to see where all of this lands. I think we're at the start of this. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I really hope that they just do little bits like, generate a name for my Pages documents. Don't make me name absolutely everything. Stuff like that, I think, could be just really nice quality of life improvements. It is interesting to see Apple's stock price apparently dropped significantly after the event yesterday, which I thought
I think that's because the whole world's gone mad, to be honest, at the moment with AI stuff, that if you don't do enough, it's like every product you buy now, every piece of software, everybody thinks they have to have AI somewhere in there. And it's like, I think it's a bit of a gold rush at the moment, but I think things will... I think ultimately where we need to get to is actually, like you said, I just want this to be a tool that does useful things for me.
Yeah.
And I personally think Apple might be actually on the right track, but I know I try not to be an Apple fanboy. I mean, I like to think I'm not. But I just think, that's what I want, is that kind of more measured kind of approach to it rather than just hype,
How do you feel about all of the privacy talk, but still in the cloud?
I know some of this privacy stuff Apple says is marketing, truthfully.
Sure.
No doubt they're gathering info and they're, you know what I mean? They market to us better than most, you know what I mean? So I take some of it with a pinch of salt, but there's definitely something to it that, the on-device side is good, and I suppose the anonymized stuff on the servers. But then on the other hand, they are also using ChatGPT.
That's true.
For some stuff, and yes, you'll have to give permission each time, but that might actually just get annoying, to be honest with you. So hopefully you'll be able to say
I reckon
always
that
yes.
could be, in time, that could be done away with. Until I reckon the day Apple does away with that will be the day that they launch their own GPT competitor, in some regards. But I did see last night that the man that is Elon Musk did say that he would be removing all iOS devices and Apple devices in general from all of his companies if GPT was integrated at the OS level. And I was thinking, does that mean he's going to get rid of like Windows and everything else that has done the exact same thing too?
Just not have computers anymore.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trust too much that comes from him. So
yeah, that's that. Nor would I. But there you go. They'll run a custom version of like Elon Linux or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he wanted to invent a phone. I think, wasn't that a thing that was happening for a while?
Oh, there was talk of a Tesla phone or something at one point, wasn't there?
Phone. Yeah, I don't think I'd be buying a Tesla phone. There you go. It definitely would not have a screen reader, by the way. I think that would be a given.
No. Wouldn't get into Europe then, next year or so.
Well, this is true. That European Accessibility Act, hey, it has its benefits. Well, Dave, any other kind of quick thoughts before we wrap up on the whole WWDC front? Overall, you were decently satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely some good improvements. I think we're at a point. It's such a mature operating system that it's never going to be easy to really like blow us away with improvements to an 18-year-old operating system. So I think there's some good improvements there, and I think the AI side of it definitely has potential. So I'm kind of excited to see what might come down the road with it.
I'm likewise. I'm very much wait and see on this. I think I don't know what I went in expecting. I see a lot of benefits to AI, but the only use cases I have for AI right now are for its accessibility implications. So look, I'm really curious to see if we'll get many kind of accessibility improvements around this. I think those things that you mentioned to voiceover are going to be brilliant, just small little, it's quality of life stuff, but it's still great at the same time to get those kind of little bits. I did notice, I think for those who are, who may have difficulty hearing as well, there are some stuff that's great on the access front, even around Apple TV and stuff like that's going to have the ability to bring vocals and speech out of TV shows a little bit and make that pop a little bit more. So they are definitely focusing on features, even inadvertently, that will benefit people with disabilities, which is great from Apple. But overall, I was happy. I'm not blown away by any of it. But I do think it's going to be interesting to wait and see where it goes for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, Dave, listen, thank you so much for checking in with us, and you've become a regular contributor when it comes to our Apple coverage and stuff like that. So thank you so much for that. Is there anything you're looking to plug at the moment? Anything, either at Sky, Apple Viz, any of the bits?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, firstly, I'll say, yeah, thanks for having me. I always enjoy coming on, and it's always good fun doing this. So thanks a million. AppleViz, like I think it's really interesting on AppleViz side that we have a section on the website, one of the if you go to heading level 2s, below the main Apple stuff, we actually have forums now for non-Apple stuff as well. So if you want to talk about Windows or Android or the latest AI glasses or whatever, you can go and check that out. So I think that's really interesting. We did a 3-month trial and it went pretty well. So we decided to keep it. So
brilliant.
That's one thing I'll check out. And over the summer, of course, we'll have lots of content about iOS 18 and all the other new software. And Thomas will have lots of demos out when it comes to September and so on. So definitely check that out. On Sky, well, this year will hopefully be a big year in terms of things like audio description for on demand and more improvements to our screen reader on our TV and stuff like that. So yeah, stay tuned. Hopefully I'll be talking to you another time about that maybe, but
fantastic
when that comes along.
Brilliant stuff. Always great improvements. Dave, thank you so much for joining us, and we shall see you again the next time. I'm sure there will be you won't be staying away for long, I'm sure, because you are a regular guest on the podcast at this point.
Thanks a million, David.
Thank you so much. And we'll have Talking Technology News in just a few minutes. But hey, if you do want to get in touch with us to tell us your thoughts on anything that we discussed around the Worldwide Developers Conference, we'd absolutely love to hear from you. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note to 086 199 0011. That's 086 199 0011. You can also send us an email to content@vi.ie if you'd like to get in touch. But now it's Talking Technology News time.
This is Talking Technology News.
With your latest Talking Technology News, I'm Daniel Dunn. Some visually impaired and junior cert Leaving Cert students ran into major issues last week after there were technical issues with digital exam papers. In a statement issued to RTE News, the State Examinations Commission, who oversee both the Leaving Cert and junior cycles, said they were contacted by 10 schools who were unable to access the papers. They followed up with the service provider responsible for access, and the technical issues were resolved by 11:15 a.m. While the issues were eventually sorted, the incident still caused major problems, with students forced to use modified papers instead of the digital papers they were promised. State examinations are stressful at the best of times, so these issues will come as a very nasty surprise to students with sight loss. Vision Ireland has written to the Minister for Education on the subject, saying we are deeply disappointed that an already stressful experience was compounded for these students due to an avoidable technical problem. We are eager to understand what specific steps will be taken to prevent such issues from recurring in the future. Ensuring that all students have equitable access to examination materials is essential to their academic success and overall well-being. Vision Ireland aren't the only ones commenting on the subject either, with sight loss charity FAOC saying again the SEC has let VI students down. Hopefully this won't happen again and the impacted students receive any support they require. In other news, Mortal Kombat for PlayStation broke their screen reader after an update last week, with any players set to UK English no longer receiving any speech output. The developers responded in a widely shared post on X acknowledging the issue and linking to a page with a workaround. We're aware of an issue with the screen reader in Mortal Kombat 1 accessibility settings not functioning after the most recent game update. Our teams are investigating a fix. In the meantime, changing your system language to English United States will function as a workaround. Please accept our apology for any difficulties caused by this. While it's good to see that they responded quickly, it does go to show that more testing is needed of accessibility features, and it can't just be an afterthought. Still, credit to the team for taking this issue seriously. Hopefully a fix will be released soon. Some sighted players were frustrated that the screen reader issue was taking focus when other bugs existed too, so you do have that side to consider as well. It's unfortunate that not everyone sees the importance of screen readers, but the concept of accessibility is relatively new in gaming, so that is to be expected, unfortunately. And finally, for now, would you use a government dating app? The government of Japan are launching a new app to help match couples in a bid to solve their issues with falling birth rates. In Japan, it is common to disclose your earnings on dating apps, but the new government app will require you to submit a tax certificate to prove your earnings. Users must complete an interview to sign up, be legally single, and sign a letter stating that they are willing to get married. So the whole process is a little bit more involved than just downloading Tinder. While some have questioned if taxpayers' money should be spent on developing a dating app, others have said the fact that the government regulated may make them more willing to use it. It's a unique way of solving the problem of falling birth rates, but who knows? If it works, will we see an Irish government dating app in the future? What would you call it? I guess those possibilities are truly endless. Would you feel more comfortable using a government-controlled dating app? Let us know your thoughts now with a WhatsApp voice note. And that's your tech news update for this week. Be sure to sign up to get our Tech on Tap newsletter in your inbox every Friday for even more exciting tech news. But for now, it's back to you, David.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, what a wild world. A government-controlled dating app that requires you to submit your tax information and sign a letter saying you're willing to get married. I kind of love it, though.
It's a quirk, all right. Maybe it's the norm in Japan. I'm not very up to speed with their cultural norms, but I don't think that would sit well here in Ireland. I don't think.
Yeah, do you know, I wouldn't mind like a government dating app, but I don't think it needs all of that information, to be honest.
I'm thinking myself like the submit your tax returns to get on the app. I definitely think that would bomb altogether.
Yeah, have you paid your license fee?
Yeah. Like there's so many different things now. Would you qualify, or would many people qualify at all?
Yeah, that's a wild one to think about, but there you go. And then we also have the issues with Mortal Kombat. That one also popping up. Not everybody on board with the screen reader issues. Some people were focused on. They were more concerned with other issues. Didn't see the screen readers as quite this important thing that everybody was on about. How do you feel about that one? It's a weird one to think about because sighted gamers, I guess visually impaired gamers are in the minority too.
Yeah, look, it is an unfortunate thing to have happened, kind of pitting one group of gamers against the others when it comes to, getting a problem solved in a game or whatever. But you got to remember too that a lot of gamers are, I won't tar them all with one brush, but younger, maybe not necessarily. Younger
and shall we say slightly immature sometimes.
Perhaps, yeah. I don't want to sound too harsh on gamers. Generally
it's fair.
They're quite cool, but I can see why that would happen. With a group maybe that's just not aware that screen reader gamers are out there, and it's like take the controller off a sighted game user, and it's exactly what you're doing when the screen reader doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think that's a very valid point. And I think this comes down in a sense as well to education. Like when it was interesting for me for the first time recently, I came across a Twitch streamer who was playing a game with audio description enabled. And I thought that was really cool, but I've never seen that before. And I think it would be an interesting one to see if there was some form of like awareness raising that could be done by some, say, Twitch streamers or within gaming culture around the importance of this stuff. But it was really cool to see, and hopefully that kind of stuff happens more over the next little while. And then the final story we had in tech news there was around the leaving cert and the junior cycle exams and the issues that some visually impaired and blind students ran into with these. Kind of some crazy stuff that it wasn't tested in advance, isn't it? It's kind of
look, we don't know the details. Was there a dry run done first? But
that's fair.
Definitely sounds like it wasn't. You know, you know, probably the biggest change in exams and how VI students are going to approach them in the future was laid on. And you know, you really want it to be a success for first day out, and it's just so unfortunate it didn't. And it does. I'm not saying that there wasn't a dry run done, but on appearance, it looks like there wasn't.
Yeah, and I think you know, it really is awful for those students as well, because for them, like it says it in that Vision Ireland letter to the minister there, like it you know, these are stressful events and at the best of times. So it is kind of sad that, you know, students were impacted by something like this. But, you know, I've always had a philosophy, and I've had this conversation with people here in Vision Ireland before, is that, like, I love technology. I will advocate for technology all day, but I would never use technology in a state exam. It's just, for me...
Murphy's Law?
Yeah, literally. And, like, I was lucky enough to work with a scribe for the exams, and I know that has its downsides as well, and there are issues around that too. But I generally think that there's a lot more we can do around, like, how can we make examinations accessible, because right now things can be a bit messy around state exams, and we've seen this there. Like FAIC said it as well in their statement. This isn't the first time there's been hiccups for visually impaired students in exams. So, you know, it's really not ideal, is it?
It's not, no. And, you know, it's something they're really going to have to invest a bit more time in. And, you know, getting, you know, when the people are there, the teachers that are supervising the exams in the halls and all that, and making sure that they're all up to speed with it as well. You know, it really has to be kind of from start to finish walkthrough of, this happens next, this is how you fix something if it goes wrong. You know, there needs to be kind of an all-round support there with that, you know. And like, you know, maybe throwing out something like if something goes wrong, phone this number. But, you know, you're going to have loads of schools trying to ring this phone number at one time. You need to do better. I think you need to do, you know, really, really in depth going through it, and include the students in the process as well, because they're the ones sitting doing the exams.
I think that's 100% correct, and it's little things as well. Like I did for my leaving cert, like I didn't do. It's wild now that it's 5 years ago, but it feels like yesterday that I did the leaving cert, and I had like a modified paper for geography, and I remember that, like, trying to get, you know, past exam papers that had the modified format, next to impossible. You know, and it's little things like that. Like a normal student, you know, when I say normal, that's probably the wrong word, but like a sighted student can go on to, I remember, you know, you do it regularly, examinations.ie, and you'd get all of the, like, different
papers from the different years.
Papers, different years and all that. You couldn't get the modified ones, you know.
No.
And maybe that's starting to change now. I don't know. I'm out of the system, as I say, 5 years, but I do think, like, you know, there's definitely room to improve. And I think talking to the students and letting them have a little bit of a say in what might work for them is definitely the way to go here. But who knows? Time will tell.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, and it's just unfortunate maybe with everything that's kind of state backed. It just does move a lot slower than it would maybe, you know, in the private sector. You know, so yeah, this probably will eventually get right. But I think, going on the past form of how things get changed in this country, it's unfortunately a long, slow process.
Unfortunately so, but hey, there you go. At least Vision Ireland and Fake are getting involved there, and hopefully that will lead to something. Time will tell on that one, I guess. But yeah, well, a lot of time will tell on this show today. But hey, there you go. Let's move on and do something, I guess, a little bit more positive, shall we? It's Quick Picks time.
Yeah.
It's time for VI Labs Quick Picks.
And in the Quick Picks this week, we have an exciting one because it's an app that is not available yet, but they won an Apple Design Award last night. And it seems like we were looking into this earlier on. The Oko app is coming to Ireland, apparently, and it's expected next year, January next year. Daniel, what are your thoughts on the Oko app? Do you want to kind of give an explainer a little bit about what this is?
Absolutely, yeah. So basically, the Oko app is an app built to assist blind people navigate more easily. With particular focus, I suppose, on help crossing the roads. Now, it's launched in America as we speak. It's launching in Canada next month. But unfortunately, us here on this side of the pond, we're looking at, I suppose, January 2025. So. So the features of the app, right, is it here's what it boasts. It says it offers intuitive, user-friendly maps and GPS with a focus on accessibility, and users can expect a turn-by-turn directions and announcements for upcoming intersections, crossroads or T-junctions in as we say on this side of the pond, and they give this, it'll ensure a seamless navigation experience. Accessible pedestrian lights, what they say here is they're going to utilize the iPhone's camera and artificial intelligence. So you have AI coming with the iPhone's camera to, I suppose, read whether the lights are red, amber, or green. And you, as the iPhone user or holder, will receive audio, vibration, and visual feedback to know when to walk or don't walk. So they're saying this is enhancing safety for all pedestrians. As with other navigation aids, they're not a replacement, but they are just an aid. So absolutely, still practice utmost caution if you do download this app in January and decide to use it. But I think, it's going to make life easier. It's fantastic to see this being developed. I think it's a company, definitely a positive.
Absolutely. It can only be a good thing. And I think it's exciting to see that they won an Apple Design Award, as I said last night. So it must be a really good app. It seems like it's doing really well in the US and seems to have been quite popular in the States. As you said, launching in Canada next month in July.
It's actually it's partnered with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. So I suppose Vision Ireland's cousins in Canada, or there are NAB's cousins in Canada. So that's it's great to see that they're lending their weight and support behind this app.
Absolutely, yeah. I wonder, will we end up involved when the January launch comes around? We'll have to get them on the podcast, Daniel.
We absolutely will. That is definitely one for the future.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, exciting stuff, and always good to see more tools for people with sight loss. It's always better. So good to hear. And Daniel, thank you so much for jumping in on Tech News and Quick Picks this week. I know Joe usually does these, but Joe is away today.
He's on a well-deserved break.
Do you know what? Well-deserved. Absolutely agree. We are severely lacking for Kilkenny voices. Voices coming from Kilkenny. But hey, we will. Joe will be back soon. Don't worry, Joe's not going.
He's probably hoarse after the Leinster final the other evening.
Ah, well, there you go. You see, that's the way it does be sometimes. But Daniel, thank you so much for that. And hey, that is about our show. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Dave, for joining us as well. And thank you as well to JP, who was helping out in the background. And thank you so much for listening. A reminder that if you do want to get in touch with us, you can send us a WhatsApp voice note 086 199 0011, or you can send us an email to content@vi.ie. That's content@vi.ie. And we would absolutely love to hear from you, whether it's about WWDC, dating apps in Japan, or Mortal Kombat. Who knows? We talked about a lot on this show, but there you go. So for now, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Technology podcast with VI Labs. If you'd like to support our show, please visit vi.ie/donate. Talking Technology is proudly sponsored by IA Labs, the market leader in digital accessibility services. IA Labs, digital inclusion, your legal obligation.